Hello, it's Gareth here. I hope you are well. So in today's video, I want to go on a step further from what I talked about yesterday. Yesterday's video was all about not beating yourself up and getting angry with yourself when you mess up. It was about how you should look at the positives in anything. What did you learn from something that didn't go how you wanted it to go? Because you can take something that builds your confidence. So today I want to talk about making sure you are being very aware and noticing and celebrating when you make progress in something. You know, you tend to find that people who struggle with kind of things going wrong and beating themselves up and kind of feeling bad about that, they also feel bad when they're not moving forward, or they feel like, you know, everything's difficult and they're not really where they want to be. And the reality is, if you're watching these videos, it's because you've got some interest in improving yourself, personal development. If you're not into that, I don't know why you're watching these videos, because that's what I talk about. And it's something that's not just something I kind of talk about or work with people on. It's something I'm always doing myself. I'm constantly trying to improve myself. And I know this isn't for everybody, but for me, really for sort of 25, 30 years now, I've been looking how I can get better at anything. And one thing that you can do when you're trying to move forward and become better at something is you always seem to be finding new challenging things come along. And that, I'm afraid, is part of the course. It's the way it is. You know, you'll get over one challenge, another one will come up. You've got to go over that one. You've got to keep going. You've got to be resilient. But if you're not celebrating where you are right now and looking at the progress you've made, you're going to forget that actually where you are now could be so much further ahead than you actually think. It's because you're focused on where you want to be. And yeah, you may be not there yet, but you've come such a long way, and you must remind yourself of that. And I'm kind of moved to talk about this today, because this morning I went out running. I mean, I haven't talked a lot in here about my kind of stuff I do physically. You know, we're only kind of 19 vlogs in now. Is it 19? Yeah, 19 of these vlogs in. And I'll hopefully talk about more of these on the channel, about things I do to stay in shape. And one of my big loves is being outside and doing hiking or kind of activities in the countryside and the great outdoors. And I have to tell you, before I start talking about these feats and what I do, I started off as somebody who could barely walk a mile, literally. I remember the first time I went walking with my partner. So when I met my partner, she was quite an avid walker. She'd been walking a lot of her life, and she was very good at it. And I kind of told her a bit of a lie, as we sometimes do to people we're new to sort of seeing and dating. And I said, oh yeah, I'm a walker, yeah, no problem. And she took me on what was a relatively straightforward, easy 8-mile walk, which for somebody who hikes is not particularly difficult. It was difficult for me. So when I go back, you know, I remember that first time she took me up a bit of a hill. You know, it's like my lungs were busting, I couldn't breathe properly, my legs were aching. And I was out this morning and we went and just did a little short 13.1 mile jog along a canal. Now, it wasn't any particularly fast pace, but it was faster than most people. It was certainly faster than walking. I wouldn't quite call it running, sort of a bit in between. And that today that I did was something I couldn't have conceived doing if I go back 10 years. And, you know, I'm not a runner. I don't profess to be a runner. I'm a walker. And when I go like we did today and go a bit quicker, it's not because I want to be a runner. It's because it improves my cardio fitness when we're going up the hills, when we go out into the countryside, the proper countryside. And although this was in Leeds, which is a city in North York, the north of England, if you don't know it, this was on the canal. You know, there's a lot you go through sort of trees and woods. It's very nice. But what I'm saying, it's not in the great outdoors as such, but it's still outdoors. It's still getting activity in. So when I came back, you know, I kept thinking, you know, we did quite well, but we could have done a bit better. We could have taken a few minutes off as time, and we could have done this and we could have done that. And that's okay to look at what you could have improved and where you want to progress to. But you have to look at the progress you're making. Because if not, you're always focusing on where you're not instead of where you are right now. The progress in my health and fitness, and especially in the last sort of 12 months of my weight, I've lost a lot of weight in the last 12 months. There's been a big move. And sometimes if you don't look at that and appreciate it and celebrate it, you don't build the confidence in yourself, and I don't think you honour yourself enough. And if you don't do that, I think you can have a very kind of difficult way of handling improvement, because you're always thinking you're not good enough and I'm not quite there yet. You've always got to remember how far you've come. And it's kind of Saturday evening. I mean, it's 7 o'clock as I'm recording this. I'm tired. It was tough to do that at the pace we did today. But I felt really when we came back like we'd really progressed. I can see the progression in the last 5 or 6 weeks we've been out, because we've been kind of actively pushing ourselves recently because we're looking to do some quite a big physical task in the summertime. And you have to remember it's going to take time. The steps you make can be very tiny, you know, as in you only seem to be progressing a little bit, but you're always progressing. And that's why I think something like consistency and keeping going at something is so important. It's not about how talented you are. If you've got consistency, you will always get better when you do something more. Now, in some things, the steps of progression can be very, very small. In other things, you'll see bigger steps. And this generally comes if you're new to something, you've never done it before, you can seem to sort of take big strides forward the first few times you do it. I remember, you can't see it because it's off camera, but to the right of me here, I've got a guitar. In fact, I've had that guitar since I was about 25, and you know, I'm 54 now, so it's a long time. And I remember when I picked it up again after all those years, and I'd forgotten how to play any chords, and so I couldn't do anything with the guitar. Within a couple of days, I could play 3 chords again, so I could start to play songs. So from picking it up and not being able to anything to actually being able to play a tune didn't take very long. And I pick it up occasionally, maybe 3 or 4 times a week, and I'll have a play on it. And I've got better in the time since then, but the steps I've taken, the improvements have been smaller. So when you start something, there can be some big changes you make quickly. You can very quickly get some kind of capability, and it looks like, whoa, look how far I've come. But then as you start to go further and further with it, the steps get smaller. Arguably, the steps get harder, but you're still making progress as long as you're consistent and you keep doing it. You know, I could play that guitar more, I don't, but I play 3 or 4 times a week, and I'm getting a little bit better every time I pick it up. Sometimes I can't even notice it, but the other day I kind of got it out and I was playing a song which I remember I had difficulty playing, an Oasis song actually, Don't Look Back in Anger it was actually, by Oasis. And then I played it and I thought, this used to be difficult and now it's quite easy. So looking at how far you've come, celebrating your progress, and understanding that although, yes, you may have further to go, you've still come a long way, is really important because it builds confidence in yourself, self-belief in yourself. And it gives you that bit of sometimes motivation, inspiration you need to keep going. So instead of looking how far you've got to go, sometimes it's actually very sensible to look how far you've come. And I guarantee if you're on this personal development journey and you want it to be the best version of yourself, there's always something you can look back at and see the progress. Yes, you will have still further to go. You know, I'm already thinking about our next trip out into the hills and how hopefully today we'll make us stronger going up hills and it'll improve the cardio, and there's a little bit more sort of progress being made today. It's about constant progression. It's not about going from hero or zero to hero in a couple of weeks. And most people, especially people who struggle to stick with some kind of personal change routine or improving themselves, is because they want it too fast. You must be patient. You must keep moving forward. You must keep being consistent, and the progression will happen even if it's small. So keep going, keep pushing. So if you're going to do something difficult right now in your life, keep going, because you know you will get through it, you will get better at it, you will master it. And remember, no matter how far you get, there's always another level you can go to. And like I say, I was thinking about that today because 13.1 miles, and we got back and I thought, well, maybe we could have taken maybe 3 or 4 minutes off that. Maybe I could have taken a couple of seconds off that mile. Well, hang on a minute here, Gareth. This is the same guy who couldn't walk 1 mile or go 8 miles my first walk with Sue without having to stop every 5 minutes. You banged out 13.1 miles. I mean, come on, that's quite a long way where you've come, isn't it? So don't focus on how far you've got to go. Remember how far you've come. It will motivate you to keep going and just keep taking them steps. There you go. What's that? Nearly 9 minutes today for this, and quite a long one for Saturday evening. Right, I'm off to bed now. I believe after my exertion today on the canal, I will sleep well tonight. So I'll see you for tomorrow's video tomorrow. Until then, take care.